So I know this really isn't the kind of video we do on this channel, but I've always really liked video essays on movies and games and shit like that. I mean, I guess we do have that one on Horrid Henry, but I wanted to do one that's actually good and not bad good. Sorry to disappoint our 30 subscribers, but for a long time I've always wanted to do this series called Forgotten and Forsaken, about games and movies and shows that either were popular and have since been forgotten, or things that should have been popular but for some reason they weren't, i.e. they were forsaken. This is the first in the series, so I hope you enjoy. In ancient times, of pre-2016, the genre of Battle Royale was just like the others, as it should be. But then the world was changed forever with the current most downloaded game of all time, Fortnite. A quick detour, do you guys remember way back when everyone was either for or against Fortnite, and they would vehemently defend their opinion, and now it's just you either play it or you don't, and no one really cares? Dark times. Anyway, obviously I'm not talking about Fortnite. It wasn't forsaken and is definitely not forgotten. Which is why I'm talking about the short period afterwards, the 2017 to 2020 gap, when there was a fucking avalanche of battle royales. A few, like Apex and Warzone, were well made enough to slip into a pretty popular status, while others really didn't, like Realm Royale, Super Animal Royale, Totally Accurate Battlegrounds. Google's telling me Fall Guys, but I don't know about that. This massive trend gave what might actually be one of the best Battle Royale games ever made. One that was so great, the world champion of Fortnite said it had great potential. Someone told me that, I don't know if it's true, but the fact that I would believe it proves how good it is. I am of course talking about the most frustrating failure in gaming history, Spellbreak. The thing that made Spellbreak so good wasn't what it did, but rather how it did it. If you couldn't tell by the name, Spellbreak is about a battle royale of fighters using spell gauntlets to shoot magical attacks at each other. Now this already seems good, but what made it great was the amazing and complex methods which you could use to mix spells to create these massive combo attacks. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Firstly, I should talk about the actual gameplay. Needless to say, it was awesome. The way it worked was you would be able to equip any 2 spell gauntlets of your choice. There are 6 types of gauntlets to choose, and I'll put their attacks and stats on screen as I say them. There's fire, stone, lightning, wind, frost, and toxic, whatever that means. Meaning that there's a total 30 combos in the game, not 36 because you can't mix the same one twice. I also feel the need to mention that you don't just mix with your own, you can absolutely mix with others and vice versa, which made one of the most fast-paced and active fighting styles I've ever played. Now that the gameplay is out of the way, it's time for the second most important feature, the map. Take a wild fucking guess what the quality of the map was. Wow, you got it, it was great. It was this super cool run-down medieval city, decked out with castles and colosseums and village houses, and really anything you could think of, which helped you really feel the world you were playing in. Speaking of the world you're playing in, the game also had some lore. It didn't really have time to expand it so early in, but from what we did have, it seemed pretty good. All I could find so early is that the game takes place in a place that used to be known as the Highlands, but is now called the Hollowlands, and you are a breaker, battling for treasure and power. Short and simple, but still pretty good. For a while, the game was great, but sadly the creators couldn't keep up with the hype. You gotta remember, this is an indie game. Its creators weren't massive rich companies, they couldn't afford 100 programmers to get a new update out every week. Their only option for survival here is to make the first update absolutely incredible. So they got to work, spent countless hours working on it, and the final product, frankly, was shit. Yeah, I feel bad saying this because I know not to expect much from such a small company, but even still, it kind of annoyed me how little they seemed to try with the update. The largest thing they added was a zone capture game mode. After a year of production. Really. But it was okay, because they were still riding off of some of the incredibly goodwill of their fans, who stuck by them until the next update. Finally, after a few months of waiting, we were treated to more content. And I mean actually more. Chapter 2 seemed a little bigger, and it seemed the loyalty of the fans had paid off. They had added a bit more story, not just in text dump, but through quests and missions. It had also added a few more game modes, a ranked system, and a bit of a makeover to some parts of the map. It seemed the wait was worth it, and they finally made an update on the quality fit for Spellbreak. The hope in the game had been pumped up just a little bit, and the fans were waiting to see if the first update was a fluke, and the game was back on track. Also, I don't know where else to put this, but I find it pretty funny how nobody played duos, so in the second update they just made it so you can't play it. They didn't get rid of the button, it's still there, you just can't use it. Around this time, the company that made Spellbreak had been bought by Blizzard, and we all know the quality there. Finally, the third update had come, and this would be the tiebreaker. And, well, I'll just read the Steam description for you. Drop in and check out the new dynamic movement changes, featuring the new dodge mechanic, transform dominions, and take on the invading automaton wardens. Additional features include quality of life changes such as color accessibility, the introduction of cosmetic layouts by class, balance adjustments, bug fixes, and more. See you in the HoloLands, breakers. Seriously? There was finally some hope again, and the update you give us is dodging and whatever the hell a warden is? At this point, the general opinion was, fuck you! Fans had spent 3 years waiting for the miracle update that was clearly not coming. Everyone had tried so hard to care about this game, and the devs made it so impossible. In 3 years, the biggest update was adding rankings and lore, something that pretty much every battle royale already has. People fell in love with the game for its potential, and it had become very clear that they weren't using it. And the final blow came early 2023, when only the last remaining fans were still playing, if only for the great gameplay, when Blizzard decided that it was a lost cause, and on January 10th, 2023, the last server of the game shut down. It was over. The tragedy of Spellbreak is how easy it was to avoid. At no point was the game doomed. It could have bounced back with a thin string of great updates, but they couldn't, or rather, they didn't. And so, the story ends, with hated devs, wasted potential, and one of the most baffling failures in gaming history. All because this great game had been forsaken. Okay, so it turns out Spellbreak isn't really gone. I guess a bunch of fans got together and started running the game themselves. I don't really have the time to go fully into it, so I'll just show you how to do it yourself. First go to elefrac.com, elefrac.com, click download, pick where to run it, and then run it. Go to where it's saved, then click gamelauncher.exe, wait for it to load, and then click start. Enter the IP addresses on screen, and then that should be about it. If you want more info, I don't know, look for someone else's videos, you ungrateful bitch. So I guess this video doesn't have as sad an ending as I thought. What?